My name is Chastity Wright. I'm 31 years old, and the morning my stepfather walked into my workshop with a locksmith, he didn't raise his voice, didn't threaten me, didn't even pretend to be sorry. He just smiled and told me my mother had sold him my company. 5 years. That's how long I'd spent building custom metalworks from nothing but borrowed money. YouTube tutorials, and a stubborn belief that if I worked hard enough, no one could take it from me. I started when I was 26 with an $18,000 loan from my mom that we documented clearly as a loan, one I paid back in full with interest less than 2 years later. I worked out of a converted warehouse in Tacoma that smelled like rust oil and burnt coffee. I ruined tools. I burned through welding masks. I learned the hard way every single day. The first year nearly broke me. 16-hour days, sleeping on a cot in the back, eating ramen straight out of the cup because stopping felt like failure. The second year, I hired Gavin, who actually knew what he was doing and taught me more in 6 months than I'd learned on my own in 2 years. By the third year, we landed our first serious commercial contract. By the fifth, we were pulling 6 figures and had clients waiting. That Tuesday morning, I arrived at the shop at 7:30 a.m., like always. We were 3 weeks away from delivering an $80,000 custom staircase downtown, the kind of project that proves you've made it. The parking lot was empty except for my truck and a black Escalade I didn't recognize. I assumed it was a supplier. I unlocked the door, stepped into the familiar smell of metal shavings, and set my coffee on the desk in the corner office I'd built myself. Real walls, not glass. I liked privacy. Then I heard car doors slam outside. I looked through the office window and my stomach tightened. Victor Hammond. My stepfather stepped out of the Escalade in a tailored suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. His daughter Talia Hammond climbed out behind him, mid-20s, phone already raised and recording. A locksmith's van pulled in last. Victor and I had spoken maybe 10 times in the 2 years since he married my mother. Wealthy real estate developer, always polite in that cold, transactional way. He'd never visited my shop before, never asked about my business, never cared. I walked toward the front door as they approached. Victor didn't offer a handshake. He held a manila folder. Chastity, he said calmly, we need to discuss the ownership transfer. What transfer? I asked. He handed me the folder. Your mother sold me custom metalworks. Sale finalized yesterday afternoon. As of this morning, I'm the owner. You're terminated effective immediately. Pack your personal items. I opened the folder. The words were there. Legal language. My mother's signature everywhere. A bill of sale transferring 100% ownership to Victor for $120,000. My company was worth at least $600,000. This is insane, I said. My mom doesn't own my company. Victor smiled the way people do when they think you're slow. Check your filings. Your mother holds 65%. You have 35. That made no sense. None. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling my mom. She's resting, Victor said. She's not taking calls. Talia walked past us into the shop, still filming. Her voice rang out sharp and authoritative. You're Gavin Wright. Stop what you're doing. I need employee files, client contacts, and the safe combination. Gavin's chair scraped. Who are you? Director of Operations, she said. New management. My heart pounded as I tried my mom's number. Voicemail. House phone. Nothing. Her work at the credit union emergency leave. Something was very wrong. Victor looked at the locksmith. Proceed. I stepped forward. Don't touch anything. This isn't legal. The locksmith hesitated. I called my attorney. Within minutes, the shop filled with tension accusations, forged documents, and the sound of a drill biting into metal that had taken me 5 years to build. And that was the moment I realized this wasn't just about a company. It was about control. By the time the police arrived, my hands were shaking. Not from fear, but from the kind of rage that burns cold and sharp. The kind that makes everything feel unreal, like you're watching your own life happen through thick glass. 2 officers stepped into my shop. One older man with tired eyes and a gut that suggested years behind a desk, and a younger woman who looked alert, already clocking the tension in the room. Victor shifted immediately, posture-softening voice, lowering into practiced concern. Officers, thank you for coming, he said, handing them the manila folder like it was a peace offering. This is a difficult family matter. My wife sold me this business yesterday. Her daughter is refusing to accept it. Daughter, not stepdaughter, not Chastity, just daughter. Reduced, minimized. I stepped forward. That's not true. My mother doesn't own this company. Those documents are fraudulent. The mail officer flipped through the papers. Ma'am, did you authorize the wire transfer shown here? Victor held up his phone, already prepared. A bank statement filled the screen. My company's account number. A $25,000 transfer to an offshore investment account. My signature on the authorization line. That's not my signature, I said immediately. I never made that transfer. I don't even have access to offshore accounts. Talia stepped closer, phone still recording her voice loud enough to carry. She's been hostile since we arrived, threatening staff, trying to hide evidence. You should check her background. I turned on her. You walked in here filming, grabbed my laptop, and called me a thief. The female officer raised a hand. Enough. This appears to be a civil dispute. We can't determine ownership on the spot. I pulled up my incorporation documents on my phone, original filings showing me as founder. But when we compared them to Victor's copies, the discrepancies were obvious. His version showed my mother as majority shareholder. The female officer frowned. You'll need to resolve this in court. I recommend no one change locks or remove equipment until then. Victor nodded like that was perfectly acceptable. Of course. Then he turned to me. You have until the end of business today to collect your personal belongings, he said calmly. If you're here after Thursday, I'll have you arrested for trespassing. Talia smirked as she followed him out, my laptop and contract binder tucked under her arm like trophies. Enjoy unemployment, she added over her shoulder. The locksmith packed up without doing anything. The police left. And just like that, my world collapsed into silence. Gavin stood there stunned. Chastity, what the hell just happened? I don't know, I said honestly, but none of it's real. My attorney called back seconds later. Chastity, get to the Secretary of State website immediately. Pull your full filing history. I opened my mouth to respond and froze. My laptop, I said quietly. Talia had taken it. I used Gavin's computer and logged into the state registry. The screen populated slowly each second, stretching my nerves tighter. There it was. My original incorporation, me, listed as sole owner. And beneath it, an amended filing dated 9 months ago. A restructuring. My mother listed as 65% owner. My signature authorizing the change. That's forged, I said, my voice flat. I never filed this. My attorney went silent for a beat. Then, this is fraud. Identity theft. We need an emergency injunction, but first we need your mother's testimony. I tried calling her again, straight to voicemail. I called her best friend, Marianne. She answered immediately. Chastity, thank God. I've been trying to reach your mom since yesterday. My stomach dropped. Marianne, I need you to go to her house right now. Victor showed up at my business claiming she sold it. He says she's sedated. What Marianne gasped. Beth would never. Please, I said. Something's wrong. She agreed and hung up. As I drove toward Victor and my mother's house in Bellevue, my phone buzzed. An email notification from Talia Hammond. Subject line, new ownership, updated payment instructions. I pulled into a gas station and opened it. She had emailed the downtown project manager, our biggest client, introducing herself as Director of Operations, announcing an immediate ownership change and requesting all future payments be redirected to a new account. Professional, confident, completely fraudulent. I stared at the screen, heart pounding not with fear but with realization. She hadn't been told to do this. She went rogue. And in doing so, she handed me the thing Victor hadn't planned for. Evidence. I screenshotted everything. Saved it to the cloud. Forwarded it to my attorney with one line. She just contacted our biggest client trying to redirect $80,000. My attorney called within minutes. That was monumentally stupid, he said. That's tortious interference. Personal liability. Separate from her father. Should we shut it down, I asked. A pause. Do you want the fast way, he said carefully, or the thorough way? I looked at the email again. Talia's name, her personal address. Time-stamped. Let her keep going, I said. Silence. You're sure? She thinks she's being smart, I said. Let her prove otherwise. As I pulled back onto the road toward my mother's house, my phone rang again. It was Marianne. Her voice was shaking. Chastity. I got into the house. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. She's in bed, Marianne said. Fully dressed. Eyes glazed. I don't think she even recognized me at first. I swallowed hard. Victor dragged me out, she continued. Said if I came back, he'd call the police. I didn't hesitate. I'm calling 911, I said. I'm almost there. And as the wheels carried me closer, one truth settled heavy in my chest. This wasn't just a hostile takeover. It was something much darker. By the time I pulled onto Victor Street, my hands were steady again. Not calm, never calm, but focused. The kind of focus that comes when panic burns itself out and leaves something sharper behind. 2 police cruisers were already there. Victor's Escalade sat in the driveway like it owned the place. I parked on the curb and barely had time to step onto the walkway before the front door opened. Victor filled the frame, blocking the entrance with practiced ease. Chastity, he said, his tone patient, almost indulgent. Your mother is resting. Marianne's visit was disruptive. You need to leave. I need to see my mother, I said. Now. She's under medical care. What doctor? I asked immediately. Name and number. Dr. Morrison, Victor replied, without missing a beat. You can call his office tomorrow. I pulled out my phone and searched. 2 doctors with that name in Seattle. Which one? Victor smiled faintly. I'm not obligated to provide you with that information. Before I could respond, the officers stepped forward. It was the same female officer from my shop and a different male officer this time. We're here for a welfare check on Beth Hammond, the female officer said. We need to see her. Victor hesitated just a fraction of a second too long. She's sleeping, he said. The medication makes her groggy. We still need to verify she's safe, the male officer said firmly. Reluctantly, Victor stepped aside. The house smelled wrong, stale, medicinal, too quiet. My mother's bedroom was upstairs. The officers knocked, then entered. She was lying on the bed in pajamas, hair, messy eyes, half open but unfocused. My chest tightened. Mom, I said softly, it's Chastity. Her eyes shifted slowly toward me, like they had to travel a long distance. Why are you here? She murmured. The female officer knelt beside the bed. Ma'am, are you safe? I'm just tired, my mother said, glancing toward the doorway where Victor stood. Victor says I need rest. The officer's gaze moved to the nightstand. Pill bottles, several of them. She picked one up. This is Ambien. This one is Valium, both prescribed for nighttime use. She looked back at my mother. Did you take these today? My mother hesitated, then nodded. Victor gives them to me. He says the doctor ordered it. The male officer turned to Victor. What doctor prescribed daytime sedation with sleep medication? Victor produced prescription slips. The labels were off. Unusual dosing, inconsistent handwriting. The female officer photographed everything. This is highly irregular, she said quietly. Ambien isn't for anxiety, and this dosage is excessive. She turned back to my mother. Ma'am, did you sign business documents yesterday? My mother blinked slowly. Victor had papers. He said they were urgent, for Chastity's business. Did you read them? A small shake of her head. He said I needed to sign fast. The room went very still. The male officer straightened. Sir, it appears your wife may have been heavily medicated while signing legal documents. Victor's voice didn't change. She signed in before the medication. The officers exchanged a look. We're recommending immediate medical evaluation, the male officer said. He stepped out to call an ambulance. As paramedics arrived, one of them examined the pill bottles and frowned. This dosing is dangerous. They loaded my mother onto a stretcher. As they wheeled her out, she reached for my hand, her grip weak but desperate. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't understand. I squeezed her hand. I know, I've got this. At the hospital, they admitted her for observation. The doctor confirmed what the officers already suspected: she'd been significantly oversedated. That night, sitting alone in the waiting room, my attorney called. This changes everything, he said after I explained. We'll amend the emergency motion. Elder abuse, fraud, coercion. The next morning, my mother was clear-eyed for the first time in days. She told me everything. Victor had shown her fake bank statements, told her I was facing criminal charges, said selling the company was the only way to protect me. After she signed, he gave her pills, claiming they were prescribed by her doctor. Adult Protective Services filed a report. A forensic document examiner confirmed the signatures weren't mine. The pharmacy had no record of the prescriptions. And while all of that unfolded, Talia kept emailing my clients. One after another. Every message professional, confident, signed with her name. Every message another nail. By Wednesday evening, my attorney said it quietly, almost with awe. They're building the case for us. And for the first time since that Tuesday morning, I believed him. By the time Wednesday night bled into Thursday morning, the story Victor had tried so carefully to control was no longer his. It was everywhere. In court filings, in hospital records, in police reports, in emails time-stamped down to the second. In witness statements that matched too cleanly to be coincidence. Every lie he'd stacked relied on silence, confusion, and time. And one by one, those things were disappearing. My attorney filed the amended emergency motion just after midnight. It included everything: my mother's sworn statement from the hospital, the preliminary findings from Adult Protective Services, the forensic document examiner's report, and a growing appendix of emails sent by Talia Hammond to my clients, all claiming new ownership and requesting payment redirection. By Thursday morning at 9, we were in court. Victor sat at the defense table in a dark suit posture, Straight expression calm. Talia was a few rows back, arms crossed, chin lifted, still carrying herself. Like this was an inconvenience, not a reckoning. The judge didn't waste time. My attorney walked him through it piece by piece, not theatrically, methodically. Hospital admission records showing over-sedation, police photographs of pill bottles with irregular dosing, the lack of any legitimate prescribing physician, the forged corporate amendment filed without my knowledge, the fake bank statements Victor had used to scare my mother. Then the emails. Each one appeared on the screen behind us, sent from Talia's personal email, to 7 separate clients, requesting payments be redirected to an account tied to Victor, claiming I was no longer authorized. Each message polite, confident, wrong. The judge leaned forward. "Miss Hammond," he said, looking directly at Talia, "did you send these emails?" She hesitated, just long enough. "Yes," she said, "I was protecting the business." The judge's expression didn't change. "You were not an officer of this company. You had no legal authority to contact its clients. You were aware there was an active ownership dispute." "Yes, and you did it anyway." Silence. The judge exhaled slowly. "I'm issuing a temporary restraining order effective immediately. The sale is void. All property must be returned today. No contact with clients, vendors, or employees, direct or indirect. Violations will result in arrest." He turned his attention to Talia. "You are personally prohibited from contacting anyone associated with this business. Any communication must go through attorneys only." For the first time, her confidence cracked. Outside the courtroom, my attorney leaned close. "The wording is intentional. This isn't vague. It's a checklist. If she ignores even one line, she's done." That afternoon, a process server handed Talia the order directly. Hand to hand. Proof of service. No excuses. We sent one calm email to every client from Gavin's computer since my laptop was still in Talia's possession. "There is an active legal dispute. Please ignore any claims of new management. Forward all communications to our attorney. Do not engage." Then we waited. 3 days later, my phone rang. It was the downtown project manager. She emailed again, he said, asking about payment schedules. I didn't feel angry or shocked. Just settled. "Forward it," I said, "and don't reply." By the end of the week, it wasn't just him. A restaurant owner, a contractor, a property manager, same tone, same signature, same mistake. Every email sent after she'd been served. My attorney's voice held something close to amusement when he called. "We're filing contempt." The hearing was brief. The judge pulled up the restraining order, then the emails, then the proof of service. "Miss Hammond," he said evenly, "what part of no client contact was unclear?" Her attorney tried to argue she was preserving relationships. The judge didn't buy it. "I find you in contempt," he said. "You knowingly violated a court order. You will pay the plaintiff's legal fees for this motion and a fine for each violation. Any further contact will result in arrest." Talia left the courtroom, pale shoulders slumped, looking like someone who had finally been introduced to gravity. Victor didn't look at me. Over the next 4 weeks, everything accelerated. Forensics recovered deleted files from Victor's computer signature practice, planning documents, research on identity theft. The pharmacy confirmed the prescriptions were fake. A detective obtained warrants. The prosecutor filed 11 criminal counts. Victor was arrested. He couldn't make bail. And through all of it, Talia kept posting online. Old videos still up. Accusations frozen in public time. Cleaning up a thief's mess. Every word time-stamped. Preserved. Waiting. Talia's deposition happened 3 weeks later in a glass-walled conference room that smelled faintly of coffee and printer toner. I didn't say a word the entire time. I sat at the end of the table, hands folded, and watched. My attorney controlled the room without raising his voice. He started gently. Name, age, relationship to Victor Hammond, education, employment history. Talia answered easily, at first confidence, returning in small familiar gestures, chin up, shoulders squared, the faint edge of annoyance at being questioned like this. Then my attorney clicked a button. Her social media post filled the screen behind us. A photo of my shop, time-stamped. Tuesday morning. Caption, cleaning up a thief's mess. Justice Day. He read it aloud, slowly, every word. "Miss Hammond," he asked, "you posted this while physically inside Custom Metalworks." "Correct." "Yes." "You filmed video inside the workshop and accused Chastity Wright of embezzlement." "I was documenting what I believed was criminal activity." He played the video. Her own voice echoed through the room, sharp and unmistakable. "This woman has been stealing from the company. You're the criminal here." My attorney paused the video. "You made these accusations publicly," he said, "without verifying the documents, without contacting law enforcement, without consulting a lawyer, correct?" She hesitated. "Yes." "You trusted your father." "Yes." "You trusted him enough to seize Chastity's laptop and contract binder on camera." "Yes." "To contact her clients and attempt to redirect $80,000 to an account he controlled." Her attorney shifted in his seat. "Correct," Talia said quietly. My attorney nodded and clicked again. 7 emails appeared on the screen. 7 different clients. Same tone, same signature, same request. "All sent from your personal email address," he said. "All within 48 hours. Were you aware that commercial contractors share vendor fraud databases?" Talia blinked. "No." "When Westlake Hotels flagged your name," he continued, "that information was automatically shared with approximately 3,000 procurement managers across the Pacific Northwest." Her face drained of color. He let that sit. "Let's talk about the laptop," he said next. "The court ordered you to return it immediately. How long did you keep it?" "A few days." 4, he corrected, referencing the forensic report, "during which time you accessed confidential client files and copied documents to a USB drive. After the court order." "Correct." Silence. Her attorney asked for a break. When they came back, Talia looked smaller. Not defeated yet, but shaken in a way confidence couldn't patch over. Every post she'd made was entered into evidence. Every email, every accusation spoken on camera. All of it time-stamped. All of it hers. Here's what Victor never understood. He planned his part carefully. Forged documents, fake prescriptions, manufactured evidence. It was controlled, deliberate. Then his daughter picked up a phone. She filmed herself making accusations. She contacted my clients. She posted everything online with her real name attached. She turned a complicated fraud scheme into something painfully simple. A hostile takeover attempt. With receipts. Victor's defense had been that this was a legitimate business transaction between spouses. Talia's emails trying to redirect $80,000 destroyed that argument completely. His trial happened 4 months later. Digital forensics recovered deleted files from his computer signature practice planning documents, months of preparation. Search histories on identity theft. Step-by-step notes. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the judge looked directly at him in his orange jumpsuit. "You targeted a vulnerable woman who trusted you," he said. "You manipulated her, drugged her, and attempted to steal from her daughter through systematic fraud." 10 years. $320,000 in restitution. Victor went white. Talia's civil case settled a month later. $40,000 in damages. A forced public retraction on every platform where she'd called me a thief. A sworn statement admitting the embezzlement claims were false. A 15-year prohibition on contacting my business, my employees, or my clients. But the real damage was already done. Her name was flagged. And in this industry, flags don't fade. The settlement paperwork was signed on a quiet Monday morning, the kind of day where nothing dramatic happens unless you know where to look. Talia's attorney sent it over just after 9. $40,000 in damages. A full retraction worded precisely, legally, airtight, posted on every platform where she'd accused me of embezzlement. A sworn statement admitting the claims were false. A 15-year prohibition on contacting my business, my employees, or my clients. Any communication, if absolutely necessary, routed through attorneys only. On paper, it looked neat, contained, finished. In reality, it was anything but. Because the damage Talia had done to herself didn't live in court documents. It lived in databases she didn't know existed, conversations she wasn't in, and background checks she would never see. Commercial contractors talk. Procurement managers share systems. One fraud flag doesn't stay local, it propagates. When Westlake Hotels blacklisted her name, it didn't just sit there. It synced, spread through vendor networks across the Pacific Northwest. Hotels, property managers, construction firms, anyone who ran even a basic check would see it. Civil judgment, defamation settlement, contempt finding, association with a convicted fraudster. Her LinkedIn disappeared overnight. Social media went private. Google didn't forget. Articles started popping up, small ones at first, then larger. Daughter of convicted developer, settles defamation case, business owner, wins after false embezzlement claims. She stopped being a person and became a cautionary search result. Victor's restitution payments came slowly as his assets were liquidated, but they came. Bit by bit, my mother recovered most of what he'd siphoned from her retirement. She filed for divorce while he was still in jail. 90 days later, it was done. No contest, no theatrics. She sold the Bellevue house and moved into a smaller condo in Kirkland, kept her job at the credit union, started therapy, carried guilt she didn't deserve but worked through it anyway. I went back to the shop the day after the judge's initial ruling. Gavin had kept things running during the chaos. We finished the downtown staircase 3 days early. The client was impressed enough to refer us to 2 more projects. 8 months later, we had 8 employees, 2 delivery vans, revenue pushing $900,000. The company Victor tried to steal had doubled. We used the profits to upgrade equipment, hire better talent, and bring on a forensic accountant as an advisor, the same one who'd traced Victor's embezzlement. Proper controls, real governance, systems that couldn't be quietly rewritten behind my back. Most nights I went home tired in a good way. Life settled. And then one cold Wednesday morning in February, I pulled into the shop parking lot at 7:15 a.m. 6 vehicles sat there now. As I unlocked the front door, a silver sedan pulled up. I recognized it immediately. Talia stepped out. No phone, shorter hair, cheaper clothes. She stopped about 10 feet away, eyes fixed on the ground. "Chastity," she said. I waited. "I came to apologize," she continued, voice unsteady. "Not because my lawyer said to. I just needed to." Silence. "I was wrong," she said. "About everything. I never checked anything. I just believed my dad." She swallowed. "I destroyed my career. And I almost destroyed yours." I didn't help her out. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she added quickly. "I just wanted you to know I get it now." I nodded once. She turned to leave, then stopped. "Thank you for not pressing charges." "I didn't not press charges for you," I said calmly. "I gave the detective everything. The state handled the rest." She nodded, got in her car, and drove away. I walked into my shop. Gavin looked up. "Who was that?" "Victor's daughter," I said. "She came to apologize." "That do anything for you?" I set my coffee down and booted up the computer. Not really. Victor is serving 10 years in Monroe. Talia moved to Portland. Her name is still flagged in every system that matters. They handed me everything I needed. All I did was let them keep digging. After Talia drove away, the shop settled back into its familiar rhythm. The low hum of machines warming up the metallic scent in the air, the quiet competence of people who knew what they were doing. It struck me how little drama actually survives real work. Noise burns off. What's left is motion. Gavin handed me a clipboard with the day's schedule. No questions, no commentary, just trust. That trust had been forged the hard way, through chaos, uncertainty, and the kind of loyalty that doesn't announce itself. Over the next few months, I noticed how the story changed, depending on who told it. To some clients, it was a cautionary tale about fraud and overreach. To others, it was proof that we were solid under pressure. Vendors who'd been on the fence before started calling back. Referrals came easier. People like stability. They like businesses that don't fold when tested. My mother and I fell into a new pattern. Dinner every other week. Sometimes we talked about what happened about the pills, the lies, the moment she realized the signatures weren't mine. Most times we didn't. Healing doesn't always need narration. Sometimes it just needs consistency. She started dating again slowly, carefully. A retired teacher she met through a friend. Kind, patient, no hidden angles. Watching her relearn trust was harder than the courtroom ever was, but she did it on her own terms. That mattered. At work, the changes we made stuck. Dual approvals on accounts, independent audits, clear governance. Not because I was afraid anymore, but because professionalism is a form of self-respect. The business grew into something sturdier than I'd imagined in those ramen-fueled early years. Not flashy, reliable, earned. Occasionally, someone would bring up Victor or Talia, usually in hushed tones, like saying their names might summon something unpleasant. I didn't engage. Their story had reached its natural end. Mine hadn't. On a gray afternoon in early spring, I stood on the shop floor watching a new hire finish a weld cleanly on the first try. He caught my eye, grinned proud. I nodded back. That was it. That was what survived. Not the accusations, not the spectacle, not the noise. The work did. By the time spring settled in for good, the story stopped following me. That's the strange thing about surviving something public and ugly. At first, it feels like it will define you forever, like every room you walk into will carry echoes of it. But slowly, quietly, life moves forward anyway. Not because it forgets, but because it refuses to pause for anyone. On a cold Wednesday morning a few weeks later, I arrived at the shop earlier than usual. The sun hadn't fully climbed yet, and the metal doors were cool under my hand as I unlocked them. Inside, the space felt exactly the way it always had grounded, familiar earned. 6 vehicles in the lot now, 8 employees on payroll, 2 delivery vans idling with jobs lined up weeks in advance. The company Victor tried to steal had grown into something he could never have controlled. That mattered. What mattered more was that I no longer felt like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. No more checking my phone with dread. No more bracing myself for some new accusation, some new attempt to rewrite reality. The truth had finished doing its work. Victor was serving 10 years in Monroe. He appealed once. It went nowhere. The evidence was too clean, too complete. Forgery, fraud, elder abuse. The judge had been very clear this wasn't a mistake. It was a plan. Talia moved to Portland. That's what I heard anyway. I didn't look it up. I didn't need to. Her name was still flagged in every background check that mattered. The civil judgment, the forced retractions, the contempt finding, they followed her quietly, efficiently. No drama, just consequences. My mother rebuilt her life piece by piece. Therapy helped. So did distance. She kept her job, downsized her life, and reclaimed parts of herself Victor had slowly narrowed without her noticing. Watching her regain confidence was a different kind of justice, one no court could order. We never blamed each other. There was nothing to gain from that. One evening, months later, we sat across from each other at a small restaurant in Kirkland sharing dessert. She looked at me and said softly, "I thought I was protecting you." "I know," I replied, and I meant it. That was enough. Back at the shop, things kept moving. New contracts, better equipment, a reputation that carried weight now, not because of what we'd survived, but because of how we handled it. Clients trusted us. Employees stayed. The work spoke for itself. And sometimes when the noise of the machines dipped just right, I thought back to that Tuesday morning. The manila folder, the smirk, the locksmith waiting for permission. Victor had walked in believing paperwork was power. What he never understood was this lies need control to survive. Truth doesn't. It just needs time. I didn't chase revenge. I didn't have to. I documented. I waited. I let them keep digging. They handed me everything. If there's one thing I learned, it's this. When someone is convinced they're untouchable, they will always be the loudest person in the room. And eventually they will be the only one still talking.